And kind of, he was in his 50s, 60s, something like that, and he was setting himself up for retirement. So he got a lathe. And what am I going to do? And he starts calling around and talks to his daughter and says, well, I got a lathe. What can I make for you? She says, can you make me a pair of bobbins? So he did. He did a little bit of research, which is the dangerous part. He did a little bit of research, made her a pair of bobbins, and gave it to her. She said, thank you. Birthday comes around, what'd you like for your birthday? She said, another pair of bobbins, please. I said, okay. So we did. Christmas comes around, what would you like? Another pair of bobbins, please. And this was like a year and a half, and he was getting grumpier and grumpier every time she asked for a pair of bobbins. And finally he says, and this is in English, so he's thinking of this old country gentleman. Well, if you're not gonna, if you're just gonna consume these things, just take a lot of work to do these. So I don't know if I want to make any more for you. She says, Dad, have you ever seen me make lace? No. Ah. So next time he was over, she opened up, brought out her lace pillow and took the cover cloth off and showed him, Dad, you can never have too many bobbins.
Or too many bobbins.
So I'll pass this around. There's a couple of pictures. This is a fan that my wife is making, and there's a close-up of it. And this is a little piece of little strip of lace, and you can see that it's pretty dense. And then there's one other picture on here. So you can see the different types of lace. Lace making is the original cottage industry. It started in Europe. I'm not sure if it was England or Belgium or something like that in the 1500s. And girls as young as 4 started making lace. The boys would be out helping Dad farming, and the girls would make lace. And the different regions around Europe developed their own particular style of lace. And it was all for the really rich people, because the peasants, they didn't have any money, they couldn't afford lace. They were, needed food to eat. And what developed was lace dealers. And they would show up and they would hand you a pattern. And that's what you made. And that's all you made was that one particular pattern, and you were paid by the foot, right? And women would sit there and make that particular pattern pretty much their whole life. Maybe the dealer would come along with another pattern every once in a while. And in England, there's Bedfordshire lace, there's Bucks Point, Buckinghamshire, there's Honiton, there's several other different types of lace. Some of them take different types of bobbins, but the technique is fundamentally different if you look at them. And in Europe, it started as well. And it got to the point, like in the 1600s, that lace was in such high demand that the government got involved. Hey, it's another source of tax revenue. And because it was the rich people, they wanted to show off. Well, if you're in England, you don't have lace that your people made. You have lace from Belgium, or you have whatever. So a whole market of black market and smuggling developed. And it was really fascinating because, like in Belgium, the Belgians are still known as the best lace makers in the world. And the border around Belgium and France, the Belgian lace was in such demand that the smugglers, the border patrol would be catching people and all this other stuff. So what happened is these guys started raising dogs. The French guys started raising dogs, just coddling them, loving them, the much food as they want, and loves and hugs and warm beds and the whole bit. Take them across the border to the Belgian smuggler and leave them there. And the smuggler would abuse the dog, they would starve him, they'd tie him up, they'd beat him. And about the time the dog was really said, I'm done with this, he would bundle a whole big bag of lace around the dog and set it free. And the dog says, I'm out of here, I'm going back where the food is, and smuggle it through the woods. And there was a story where I think one year, the French customs agents captured and killed something like 10,000 dogs. Right? So it's just a whole fascinating thing.
Should have built a wall.
Yes. Yeah. That'll work. And And with the different styles of lace, they have different styles of bobbins.
Yeah, right.
There's only one style of lace that is native to the U.S. It's called Ipswich, from out on the East Coast. And one of the characteristic of that is it's always done with black thread. And it's a derivation of what's called torchon, which is kind of a common type of thread. My wife made her first piece of Ipswich recently. Said, "Okay, I'm done." She didn't like it. It's not particularly interesting for her. So, I got into turning about 20 some odd years ago. My father-in-law was a turner, and he was looking for ways to connect with me. He was an electrical engineer and so forth, and I'd done some turning in high school in the shop, and I liked it. And said, "Oh," so he bought me a lathe. I thought, "Oh, gee, thanks. I don't need a bandsaw, I need this, all these other things to go with it."
That works everywhere.
yeah.
Ever given somebody a kitchen?
Yes. And so it took a while, and I took a class. There's two guys that I learned from. One is David Springett, and there's a book over there. He's an English guy. And and this other fellow that my wife has known for many years, he's the preeminent bobbin turner in the world right now. His name is Stuart Johnson. He does production turning. He uses only two materials, bone and rainbow wood. And he's got replicators, and he turns these exquisite bobbins. And so I took a class from him about 12 years ago and learned some techniques. And my style is kind of a combination of what I learned from David Springett on a video and what I learned from Stuart, and adapted to my own particular situation. When I first started turning, I'd make bobbins for my wife. She said, "Thank you," and then I'd never see them on her lace pillows. Turns out that she didn't like the head of the bobbin, the way I did it.
Right there.
Why didn't you tell me? Well, I didn't want you to stop making bobbins. And then she kept telling him, well, they're a bit fat. And, you get smaller and smaller and smaller. It's a bit of a bravery thing or a confidence thing. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you how I do one from scratch. And then I'm going to show you some other things that I do, some decorations that I do. There's a little plastic bag of some bobbins over there. You want to pass that around, take a look at it. But I've got 5 different types that I'm going to show. One is called bee's knees. And if you look at the legs of a bee under a microscope, it's going to look something like that.
Lift up a little bit. There you go.
All right, like so. All right? That's a fun one. That's an easy one. And then this one is it's my own design. I call it Tiny Dancer. I've got about 6 or 7 designs that I've developed, and after a while you kind of get bored with it, so you start doing some things.
Can you address the turning of bone?
Bone is it's like being in a dentist office, so you need earplugs, and then you get that smell.
Yeah,
And
and you definitely need some kind of a mask.
I've done 3 bone bobbins. I will not do any more.
What is the bone?
It's a cow bone, femur.
The femur.
You can also use antler for stuff if you want to try it out.
Yeah. You should,
Smells
according
bad.
to David Springett, he's got another book, a more advanced one, you have to change the angle of your tools to work with bone.
The antler thing, they use antlers to make to crack rock,
Yeah,
as long as it's not wet.
yes.
That stuff is incredible.
It's really hard. I've turned a few things with that. I don't like it.
Could I ask you a quick question?
Sure.
I'm looking at the picture and these, there's a little hole drilled through the top, and there's a loop. Could you tell us what that is?
So certainly.
That,
Right? So this is called a spangle. Now there's 2 basic styles of bobbins. There's Midland style, which is the English style, and that has,
Can you hold it in front of the camera? There you
yeah,
go.
so it has this little, it's called a spangle. We usually use crystal glass beads for the weight. And when it's hanging on the pillow, if you see in the pictures there, the spangle gives it a little bit of weight, so you keep tension on the threads, right? And how you do it, or how the types of beads that you use, it doesn't really matter. That's a personal thing. I happen to use some turquoise to match the wire on here. And I'll show you how to put it on, if I don't drop the beads all over the floor. So I showed you the tiny dancer. It's this one. Well, what I did was I got bored one day and I thought, well, what can I do? So I make I call it it's a half barley. It's not a complete barley twist. So I do that. And then I got a little bit fancier doing inserts. The same design. Right? And so I'm going to show all of those if my knees stop knocking.
Do you have different particular weights that for different
Different
kinds of
threads?
lace you need heavier bobbins to pull?
Sometimes there'll be a very heavy thread that runs through the lace. It's called a gimp, which is like an accent or an edge or something like that. Those typically have a much larger bobbin on them. A friend, one of my wife's students, an extraordinary woman, she wasn't feeling well, went to the doctor admitted her to a hospital. She went into a coma and woke up 3 weeks later missing her feet from the knees down and missing parts of her fingers. She had a necrotizing infection, and she started lace making, and she's missing, parts of a couple of fingers. Well, these bobbins are way too small, so I turn, these are about 5.5 millimeters. I turn them down to about 8 millimeters, so it's big enough for her to grab onto, but I have the much smaller neck and head on them, so she can use the lighter threads. This is a wicked ass little bowl gouge or a spindle gouge that I got from my father-in-law that I use for rounding it off. I mainly use the skew chisel for just some touch-up work, and then this is my tool of choice, and it's a square piece of cobalt. It's tool steel, and you notice that it's shaped right across from corner to corner. It's not in corner to corner on that. And that's what I developed. I know other people that they just use a little skew chisel. Some turners I know use a parting tool mostly. It's just whatever you're comfortable with. Now the guys who do this professionally, who turn freehand, they'll turn this bobbin in about a minute and a half. I'm not there.
So it's interesting that even though it's very fine work, you don't use those really small, because you can get those really small like pen turning tools and everything.
Yes, you can have a catch.
You don't use pen turning tools
No.
here.
No, you can have a catch with those just as easily. One thing that, if you're going to turn small like this, you have to get used to breaking them, lots of them. I'm to the point now where when I break one, it's typically I'm too tired. That's my indicator to shut the lathe off and go. The other thing when I started turning it was I came out and I thought, I'm going to make a bobbin. Well, what the hell is it going to look like? I don't know. So I just started turning, and the results kind of showed that. So one of the things I figured out is to have patterns and templates. So I've got a number of different designs on the card. Right, so I've got two versions of the Tiny Dancer. My sons have started turning, so they've got their own designs that they've made. There's one we call the Excelsior, and my son Edward, his version has these 3 little beads right here. My son Matthew has his version of it, and I've got my own version. So here's Matthew's.
Is there a national registry for these kind of things?
Not really, but one of the things that Stuart talks about when you're turning is have a little bit of ethics. He makes a living off of this. There's some other guys that make a living off of it. So if you're going to do it, don't use his designs. Right? Make your own. So once I figured out, have some templates, have an idea what you're going to make first, then my skills got a little bit easier. Okay, so I've never used a monster like this. I need about 39.50 or so. Where's Wells? Yeah, how do I?
He needs to know how to turn it on and stuff.
Yeah.
The dial on the bottom is your speed.
Okay.
Okay. Just a drill chuck that you...
Watch the
Yeah.
cables.
Okay. One other thing before you turn it on. when I first started turning, I was turning between centers, and these necks are about 2 millimeter. And when you get it down to about 5 millimeters, it starts doing this number while it's spinning. It flexes, so you don't get round bobbins anymore. You get really interesting shapes if it doesn't break.
Yeah.
So my technique is I have a Jacob's chuck, and I usually stick it between step centers and turn a little tenon on the end, and then just spin it around and grab it with the Jacob's chuck. But I'm just going straight like that today. All right.
A
Okay,
little switch.
red button, it turns it on, and this gives you your speed.
Ah, okay.
And you can get up to 3,000 with that if you want.
Okay, that's slow, huh?
So, yeah, well, anyway, so
Okay.
it's your dial, and then red button is off.
Okay,
And I think
okay,
that's all there is to
that
it.
should work.
Yeah, pretty much it, yeah.
All right.
I'm gonna say,
Okay.
Size of the threads?
Sorry?
Are the threads the same
Threads.
size, the size of the threads? I mean, this thing is the weave, right?
Oh yeah, yeah. Some of the hairs, or some of the threads go down to about as thin as a human hair. It's really cool to see that. So I just
So you could use, how many spoons could you possibly use? Maybe 10 or 12?
well, my wife has that fan has 150 bobbins on it, or 150 pairs.
150 pairs?
Pairs. That's fine.
No,
Oh,
locked in.
oh, there we go. Sorry,
Good
thank you,
catch.
thank you, good catch.
Yeah, that would have been bad.
So I think Wells was talking earlier about those lovely, Wells was talking about those lovely walnut bowls and turning it away.
When it does that, there's a button right here on the top back.
Okay,
That has to just press it. It should come back up.
okay.
This is the first. I don't know anything about it. You have to suffer.
So this is a piece of avocado, which is interesting when it's really soft. It's kind of pretty.
Where's the pit?
Yeah, it's at home. So this is about 5.5 mils. It's about right. So I need to find my bee's knees. Actually, the other thing you can do to cut down on variance is use the other one as a guide.
Turn that switch over there on the wall here, put some more light. Just the button over there on the.
Now what I usually do is I turn the head first. And yes, I've broken it right here.
Turn it off.
So it helps him.
No, I can see fine.
Do you want it off? Larry, can you reach over and do that again? Thank you.
You guys don't want to see anything. Come on.
Yes, we do.
So one of the things about making this is you got to have enough depth for the thread, because you wrap the thread around the neck here, Then you put a half hitch around the head, and that keeps it so it doesn't just unwind and fall on the floor. So you got to have enough depth for that thread to wrap around it, and you also have to make sure it doesn't have any sharp edges in there because that'll damage the thread. I do the neck last, but I always like to just make a little cut there. And then little cut.
They should live here, you make something for somebody, and they want to pay you for it. And it's like, oh no, give me a buck please. And then, so they gave you $2. And then they come back the next week and say, oh, my loved ones, here's $200. Yeah, we want $200. We have $200.
Price just went up. That'd
Yeah.
be $5.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm in software marketing for a living, and I've done consulting, and I bill out at over $100 an hour. So, you know, if I were to do this for a living, there's no way in hell I could sell these for what I need to live off. I charge when I do sell. It took me a long time to have enough pride in my work to sell them. I sell them for around 15 a pair.
They always come in pairs, right?
I'd say they buy them. Most people buy them in pairs, but they'll buy individuals as well. The bone ones that Stuart Johnson makes that have all sorts of engraving notes, my wife sells them for about 25 bucks a piece. And the wooden ones, anywhere from about 8 bucks up to about 15, depending on how decorated they are. I mostly just give them to my wife for gifts, and she gives them to her students as presents. So I just don't sell them all that much. There are tools that lace makers have that I also make, and those I sell. And those are kind of, so the tail, I'm just going to turn this out a little bit. The tail has to have a little bit of space so you can drill a hole through it for the spangle to grab onto. So that's the body. Now this is where it gets a little dicey, and I used my portable tool wrist.
Yeah, I was wondering about that.
And yes, I've broken them right here. Oh, come on. Oops. Design change.
We've never done that.
Now, when I'm coming back this way, you always have to ease up, because if you push too hard, it goes straight into that little curve that I turned, and now you've got a headless bobbin. Looks, not quite.
It's the same kind of technique you might use to make a finial too. A finial.
What's the ratio? Do you break more than you make?
I used to. I used to.
That's the little spinning top here. That's just about 2 hours. And probably number 15 or so.
When you get that small, they tend to fly.
Finally actually
Did
get
you
one.
breathe in too deep?
Oh, I see one thing I didn't do.
Yeah, exactly. We were all wondering what
Okay, so now we come to everybody's favorite part of wood turning demonstrations is sanding.
Starting out with 80 grit,
Yeah.
because you never skip, right?
This is in our family. This is also known as the paper chisel. Now the avocado is really soft. This is 220. This is Hermes. I had to get this in Europe. I tried finding it in the U.S. and they just don't make it. My father-in-law started me off on this, and this is what I'm used to. This is what I like. It's nice, flexible paper. And for sanding at 220. Yeah. Sorry? Yeah. I'm coming back to it. Yeah. Okay, done with 220. 320.
I'd move the camera, but I'd miss it.
And again, I want to make sure that the neck is nice and smooth, especially this little part right here. Now I'm going to finish it now with some of the darker woods, kingwood, purple heart.
Top button. There you go.
There we go.
Just press once.
There we go. With
There.
purple heart, yew, tulip wood, stuff like that. You get a lot of fine dust built up in the pores of the wood. So what I do is I take a little bit of denatured alcohol and wipe it off with a paper towel. And then I take some of the shavings and burnish it. One that helps evaporate the alcohol out. But I use Doctor's Pens Plus stuff for a finish. What I used to use is called Speed and Ease from Record. I can't get it in the U.S. I called and said, can I buy some? And they said, well, you could buy a pallet. How many is that? 900 bottles. Sorry. So
You can share it with your friends.
yes. So I actually considered getting an import license.
899 of them.
But anyway, so put a little dab on there, and then roll it on.
in Canada, you used to get stuff that was called furnace polish, and it worked really well. And then they went from oil-based to water-based, and it's just crap. And it's got the same name and everything.
Yeah. That's a good sign. When it squeaks. And then you gotta make sure you get in that part of the head there. 'Cause you don't want soft wax in there because that'll damage the thread. Okay, now that's that. And then I'm going to part off the top. And one of the things about having using a Jacobs chuck is when I first showed people like this, I'm like, whoa, it's going to come out of there. Well, the tool rest right here is in a place that if it does happen to come loose, it's only going to bump into the tool rest. It's not going to come out and chase you around the shop.
What fun would that be?
Now, there's a little nubbin on there, so I just kind of grab hold of it. Turn that off. Now, when you're doing this, when you're parting off down here, you always turn towards the chuck. Because if you don't, it's going to come out. There you go. I didn't break it. So there's a little nubbin on there, so I just take on my thigh, rub it around a little bit, and take that nubbin off, and then take that.
I guess smoothness is important here. You don't want sharp bits.
Yeah, you don't want sharp bits. And I don't worry too much about it because people aren't going to look at the end of this. They're going to be looking at that. So the last thing to do with that,
Drill a hole in it.
there you go, here's the scrap.
Don't use it all at once. You know, if you give that to Martin, there's going to be about 30 different things you'll make out of that.
That's true.
Give it to Sue so she can put it in her slingshot.
There you go.
So the last thing
Damn.
is to drill the bobbin or the spangle hole. And
Could you give me about a 20-minute time when you're
oh, sure.
wrapping up, and then I gotta start a few things.
Okay,
Thanks.
I gotta.
Well, we still have the drawer.
Yeah, I've got some
Yeah.
others that I'm going to show, time permitting. So, and I don't bother using a key on that. Now, when you drill these, you look at the wood because sometimes there's a real nifty feature you can capture. So with the spangle, it's either going to be this way or it's going to be that way. So you make sure you have the hole so that it's going to do that. But
What size drill is that?
small,
Teeny tiny.
about 0.75, I think.
What's that on that?
Yeah.
0.75, that'd be 3/4.
And then I just.
It's definitely not 3/4.
0.75 millimeter.
0.075
It's
maybe.
true. And there's a bobbin.
It's missing a spangle.
It's missing a spangle. I'll show you that next. So that's one. That's
So when you sell them, you said like $15 a piece, does that include the span?
15 a pair.
Or pair? Does that include
Unspangled. My wife takes if she sells her bobbin spangled, mine or anyone else's, she adds $2 a spangle.
Do you spangle stars on it?
The Star Spangled
So you
Bobbin,
get
yeah.
star spangle bobbin.
Okay, so I think what I'm going to do is show you this one. I gotta sand that. This is.
You get a rough spot.
Oh yeah, I just twist that off. Yeah, everyone's a critic.
Should I pass this around or what?
Yeah, go ahead.
There you go.
the belt sander?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It takes just a split second.
Okay, so this one. Oh, dang it! I knew there was something I didn't bring. Wells, do you have a small hacksaw?
Yeah, yeah.
Small one, not
small-
regular size.
Yes. I knew there was something I was going to forget.
And of course, with all the straws and everything going out of business, you can go make coffee stirrers.
Yes. Yes, that'll. Yeah.
Well, and that, and the little cocktail sticks.
Either of these work?
I'll take a look. And that's a little bit fine. That's too heavy. All right. So this one, just make sure it's not tight.
I want to see you use a skew on that one.
Yeah, it's wobbling around. Well,
I don't think I'm ever gonna.
all I have to do is do this. To finish it, I'm going to do here.
Small little things, like, it's the same way as material changes the big stuff.
Okay, that's not going to work. It's too heavy. I'm not going to show that.
You didn't see a thing.
Oh, you were gonna make.
Yeah, we're going to make the barley twist. So what I do to make the barley twist is I take the hacksaw, and it's a junior hacksaw, it's about half the width of that, and make a channel all the way around, and I rotate it by hand as I'm cutting.
Is this possibly useful?
Yeah, we'll skip it. We'll skip it. And then I take my moto tool, Dremel, and then I rotate it by hand and just cut that little in there and shape and then sand it and then finish it. So we'll do. Okay. How about I show you how to do a wired bobbin? This is beech, or no, it's not. It's boxwood. No, it isn't. It's beech. Sorry.
It's one of those.
The guys who turn just general bobbins, either sometimes they'll paint them, use either boxwood or beech because it's a plain wood.
So is this a blank that you picked up, or
Yeah,
you made this?
I got these. Actually, I bought dowels. They come supplied as dowels on that. So
Okay.
this one, I'm going to use my parting tool on this. I'm going to show you how to do this. Okay, I'm not going to be able to do the channel in there, but I'll show you how that works. So again, use the portable tool rest. And yes, I've broken it doing this.
Top button. Top button. The other way. The other way. Up. There. We expect to see an influx of a lot of lace bobbins next month.
Okay, so I cut these tenons, and then, so when you're using strips of sandpaper, take your pencil and write the grit on the back so you know what it is. This one says 320 on it, but not
could
the
be
other
lying.
parts. Sorry?
Could be lying.
Could be lying, yes. Anyway, so I'm going to finish this up. Now this one won't be an exact match. Trim this a little bit.
Now, can you cut the grooves on that before you cut them off from here, or is it possible?
The tenons?
The groove for the wire.
Oh, I always do it on the when it's on the lathe because it's easier. Okay, so finish it up.
Damn, it's cold up here.
Yes.
Jeez. Freezing.
Oh, come on, you're up in Boulder Creek.
Yeah, I was born and raised in LA.
Yeah, okay.
We had warmth there. We didn't have to import it. What's that?
Let's try to get rid of the old summer.
Yeah.
Well, just say right now, there's no such thing as cold weather, it's only inappropriate clothing.
No, this cold weather.
Okay, so that's that part, but now the next part is where you get a little fancy.
Hey, don't throw that away, it's great slingshot bait.
Yeah, and that's how you make slingshots.
And get ammunition.
So you were talking about you made a box? Yeah. This is my box. This is my little.
Oh, there you go, for the drill.
Oh, first drill bit.
Challenge here coming out.
From my little teeny tiny drill bits, and yes, I've dropped them on the shop in the sawdust.
Like a needle cover.
Yes, yeah, a needle case is what it is.
There's a French name for that, and I can't remember what it is.
Okay, so
That's
now
we. That's way. It's way.
It's a med. That's what my dad always says when he's trying to make one.
So now I'm gonna drill the hole for the spangle. But if you notice right here on the wood, there's a little bit of stripe. And so some of that's going to get covered up, but I'm going to drill it so that is facing up, so you can see it.
So you're going to draw it away from it.
Now, for the wire, what you do is you drill a hole here, and since I don't have the channels, I'm just going to make another hole right here. And yes, I've broken the bit.
Then
But the
now.
third
Save you
one.
some time, could you just list the ways you haven't broken?
There's a theme there.
Something for y'all to look forward to while you're trying this.
Right. So I doubt anybody here is ever going to make a bobbin in their life, but I think one of the things that I'm hoping you'll do is try to use some of these techniques in some other turnings that you do.
As mentioned, like I said, you can do finials, a lot of the same techniques.
Right? So, I mean, the wiring, the wire wrapping is kind of fun. Doing inlays is kind of fun. Doing something with these is. So this is some craft wire you get at Beverly's or Michael's or stuff like that. It's 28 gauge wire. And so what you do is you stick it in the hole, like so. If my hands will stop shaking. Stick it in the hole and then bend it over tight, and then wrap it around.
Or
Down a little bit. There you go.
Did you bend it under the part that's getting wrapped?
It just bend. You stick it. You don't stick it all the way through. You stick it to just the end of the hole, and then force it over.
So you don't make a blind hole then to start it off?
You can. I just find it easier just to poke it all the way through.
wouldn't it be faster to do that on the lathe?
It'd be like.
So now
Down,
what you want to
down.
do, you get.
Go down a little bit.
Sorry.
There you go.
So I take my thumbnail and shove it up just to tighten it. Wrap it around one more time, and you got to keep track of where the hole is.
Yeah, you don't want a blind hole, so you can go all the way through and pull.
Poke it all the way through,
That one's the whole way. Has to be.
like so.
That's really pretty.
And this only works if you're using turquoise pliers.
Snug it up so it's nice and tight. Now, what are you going to do? How are you going to cut it off?
Yeah, good question.
bite it, you know, real men bite.
Fatigue it.
Right?
Did that leave the cut up underneath there?
Sorry?
Does that break it off?
It always
underneath?
breaks off inside.
Cool.
So things you can do with this particular one, I cut to channels so it wraps around. Some other things you can do
How did you cut those channels?
with junior hacksaw, a small hacksaw, and just rotate it by hand as I'm cutting. And it takes a little bit because you see I'm actually
Would a Dremel hacksaw work for that?
it might, but it just nice and easy. It's going to go the way I want it to. With the spinning blade, it can go somewhere.
I guess
No,
a
this
triangular
is
file would
really,
do it
it's
as well,
actually, it's
right?
like a little back saw,
Oh,
but it's only about that tall,
oh,
about that long,
oh, it could.
and
It could.
really sharp.
But you see how I've got it so it wraps around and it matches up mostly.
Yeah.
It takes a while before you get to figure out what the angle is and how far you got to go. Some other things I've done is I cut 2 tenons, and so it's like this, and I start with one color here, and I have the anchor hole here, right? So it's like blue down here, and then I take red and go back the other way. So it's 2 colors, right? Or I take 2 wires and wrap it around together, 2 different colors, and then I have a second channel and split them as they do that. Some of the other people that do them, they cut a little bit wider channel and they put some ribbon under it, and then the wire around it, and there's all sorts of other stuff you can do.
And all of that is so that the lace makers can recognize which ones to pick up.
Not necessarily. Mostly it's just very rarely does the pair stay together when it's being worked. Sometimes it does. It just depends on the pattern. But it's mostly because you're working in pairs with everything. People want pairs. So the
But if they all look the same, then you wouldn't know which one to pick up. I think that's his point.
that's where you have to read the pattern. You have to look at the
And you have
threads
to know
as they're
which,
coming
which
off.
one of the lace bobbins has which thread in it, and that's where you have the different patterns.
Okay, Wells, I'm going to do 2 more things. I'm going to do this.
But the question I had, do those wires ever loosen up on you? Is there ever a reason to put some CA in there?
On the wire wrapping,
Yeah.
if you do it right, no. If you do it right now.
Besides, a bit of wear out, you know, you gotta get your future business ready.
Planned obsolescence.
So my second to last bit of bravery is I'm going to show this.
Oh, this is your 20-minute mark, or did you already
Yeah,
have your 20-minute mark?
About 20?
Yeah.
Okay, I'll go start a fire.
You guys wanna do a break, or?
You got an assistant?
Okay, so again, this is a bit of...
This is your last bit, right, that you're doing, and then we have to draw, and then...
Yeah.
I'm gonna be back.
Well, I'm going to show what you do with the broken bits.
Broken bits?
The broken
Bobbins.
broken bobbins.
Ah,
Which that won't
So
take long.
unsuspecting
No.
these are all, no, they're not.
We're gonna break one just for us?
No. I've just got some extra dowels.
He prepared her ahead of time.
That's what I broke earlier.
Doesn't look broke.
No, it doesn't. Does look warped though.
So walk right.
So you cut this tenon down to just under 3 millimeters.
1/8
For those of you who live here in the U.S.
Never figured out how to make it.
Well, my father-in-law lived in Germany for 40 years, and he gave me the calipers and manometric, so
They don't even have inches on them, right? Not even on the side.
So the reason it looks a little fat, but the reason I want that diameter, it's a little fat. So I have these brass washers.
So you're gonna cut that off and put those on?
Yep.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Nothing to madness. Mostly madness.
Yep. And then I'm going to demonstrate how to glue my fingers together, which, of course, none of you have ever done in the shop.
Yeah, we've never done that either.
So just
Oh, gosh.
That breaks it.
Busted it.
This guy's brutal.
Yep.
Don't cut into your fingers now. Because when you can go, bing,
None of us have ever done that, right?
No, of course not.
Garden shears once.
All these mistakes people talk about, I'm just wondering who may have ever done that.
You're just wondering because it's alien to you, right?
Apparently, yeah.
Yeah. Who would ever have done that?
The thing that typically always happens when just quickly, oh, I'm just supposed to know.
Yeah, it's always that just one more, right?
Yeah, that's a dangerous phrase.
I worked on
Yeah.
skiing also.
Yeah. The is one of the other things I learned about turning is there's no such thing as a low spot. There are, however, two high spots.
Aha.
You can't ever put it back.
Well, no, that's why they have reverse on lathes. I saw this on YouTube, so I know.
Yeah, that's how it works.
You just turn it and it goes right back on, man. You know.
That's really cool.
I gotta go like, dig that one up and put it in the newsletter.
That would be good.
That one was cute.
And now, prior to this, I had
Really?
there it is. I had taken a little piece of kingwood and squared off the ends and then drilled a hole through it. So that's my insert. I keep talking about Stuart, but what he's gotten into lately is oh, I made it too small. Yep. This isn't going to work, guys. I made the tenon too small.
So today's demo is about how not to do something.
Yep. All right, so you get the idea, though. Put it back in there. The brass turns down, makes a little bit of noise, but it looks really nice.
Just gotta make sure that you have real brass washers. So check it with a magnet.
Yeah.
Yes.
From the brass washer is a steel washer with a bit of brass coating on it. And
Yeah.
they don't turn down so well.
Yeah.
So,
All right.
So put a magnet on it and
Copper's really nice too.
like just an actual.
All right, so, you know, I mentioned breaking stuff a lot, because it does happen.
Oh, that's your rainbow wood,
This is rainbow wood,
diamond wood.
diamond wood, rainbow wood. The diamond wood, I think there was the factory here in the U.S. that made it burn down. And that is no longer available. There's a place in China that's starting to make it, apparently.
So this place that burned down, did they just recently have a sale of all of their wood?
I think so.
Okay.
I think so.
Yeah, because I haven't heard anything else since then.
If you get a bag of veneer, you can make it yourself.
Hurry up though. It's still on fire.
Yeah, stuff takes a long time to burn, so you might be safe.
Yeah.
Okay, what's rainbow wood? I'm sorry.
It's
It's
layers of
plywood.
different veneers that are
Just
different colors.
Just laminated, different
Yeah.
colored woods?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's like plywood, but
It's not tree, it's wood. It's
Northern.
No,
then sold it.
there's a lot of dyed wood in between each
Okay.
layers and stuff.
So
Yeah,
one
it
of
was
the,
pretty cool.
all right,
So
so,
pin turning and stuff.
Yeah.
I've seen it in pin turning, that's what that is.
Pin turning, bottle stoppers,
and all sorts of cool
those are
stuff.
big
with
tall, pepper mills.
Yeah.
Those are big deals in there.
Recognize the name.
it. So if you remember on those pictures that I passed around, you get lots and lots of bobbins. And sometimes you need to segregate them, set them aside for a while. So there's something called a divider pin, which is simply a heavy pin that you stick in the lace pillow to hold them. And the cool thing is when you break bobbins, you've got stock for a divider pin. So I'm gonna show when you're gonna make this round.
It's just also known as color fly.
Sorry?
Yeah. I was trying to remember the name of it.
And I use some bigger pieces and I make a little beehive or make a little top hat or a little teeny snowman or things like that. And just have some fun with it. Okay, I'll do it that way. What do I want to do? And I'll cut a cove with a skew.
Remember, there's a hole in the middle.
Notice that?
There it is.
So I haven't drilled the hole in the middle yet.
Oh, I thought there was one in there. Never mind.
Use a paper chisel just to smooth out that little bit right there. Spot of that, clean it up. Oops.
So does everybody feel that this is worthwhile, this TV? Excellent, okay. Pain in the ass to drag it around, but
Can you put it on the web so we can watch it from home?
whatever's on here.
No, but like live. Saves the drives here.
No, not yet. We want your pretty face on you. Perfect.
Okay, so I parted it off.
What do you sell that one for?
$2.
$2.
Fancier ones, sometimes I do wire burning on them, sometimes like $5 is the maximum anybody's gonna pay for a divider pin, no matter how much effort you put into it. So, the last part
Once you pull the people in the video and kind of intricate silver work on it then.
is, I have to drill a hole in it.
Are they ever made out of metal, like for instance brass?
For bobbins, sometimes, yeah, but they get it's really heavy.
They're too heavy then?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
So, let's see, take about. So I got my little model maker's drill index. Take a number 68.
68, you
Now we're getting to Martin sizes here, right?
yeah,
Big one, Martin.
80.
It's still visible, so it's not small enough.
Number 80 drill is the one I use most, but that's still a bit big.
One of the
Hey, with
things-
2-inch hole, furniture, that's,
One of the things that happens is sometimes you get dust in between the jaws, and it won't close on them this small. So I just use the drill to. Okay, so now
And actually held that. I'm impressed.
Yeah.
Holy moly.
okay. So now what I'm going to do is drill a hole in the end.
Comes with a warning. Try this at home. Yeah, don't drill with fingers.
I've come close. Usually when I'm drilling the holes for the spangle, that's when I poke
I was
my
wondering
thumb.
about that, as close as you got to those.
Yeah.
well, that's the red coloring on it. That's the extra.
Right.
I mean,
It's organic.
you don't have a good day in the shop if you haven't drawn some.
Well, I've been doing that lately.
So now
3 fingers.
you go to Beverly's or Michael's and you buy a box of
Or Joann's.
Or Joann's.
Other supplies are available.
these pins,
We don't want to.
and then you
Beverly's.
modify it.
And you don't want to rough that up, huh?
Change.
Now it's if I chose the right size bit, it's pretty much of a friction fit. Put a little drop on there. And then
That's the secret bit that nobody's allowed to see. Or where's he going?
Yeah, he's don't want you to see this part. It's just a secret.
Yeah, that's.
I just pushed it in, and I got it a little bit of an angle here, so I gotta fix it. But so there's a divider pin. So I'm cheap, so I don't like throwing away pieces of stuff, and anything I can do to rescue something, because some of this, it's pretty cool wood. You look, it's
Oh, yeah.
you get some really nice effects out of it, or some of the other stuff.
If you sharpen the end of it, it becomes a miniature blade chisel.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Or not.
For him.
But I've mostly I started turning primarily with local woods. I've got lots and lots of exotics. My father-in-law had a shop about this size and had about 3 times the wood in his shop when he passed away. And it just broke my heart because we wound up putting a bunch of it in the dumpster.
Oh. Too bad you didn't notice then.
Well, it was in Germany, and we reached out to we reached out to the Munich Turning Club, and a bunch of them came out, and the guys looked at the stuff, and they said, "My wife would kill me if I came home with more wood."
Yeah.
But,
Free wood.
Yeah, free wood, yeah, no problem.
But it's nice. Yeah, I'm a scoutmaster, and so one of my scouts makes eagle. I make them a pen out of local wood, so they have part of Scotts Valley to take with them when they go. But that's what I had to show. Thanks for having me.
Shut this up.